Hey guys, my name is Jen Costanza, and in this video, I'm going to show you why you actually need to stop hustling so much if you want to be more productive, if you want to get more done. I know that this is a big concern of many of you. Like, how do I get more done in less time? How do I get out of this situation where I feel like I'm working my life away, but I'm not actually getting the things done that need to get done? If you're experiencing that, you are not alone. I used to have this experience quite a lot. So, I used to be a professor, sociology professor. And one thing that is true in academia, you may or may not know, is that your job performance or your success in your field is measured not by teaching, like how great of a teacher you are, how great you are at running meetings or helping students. It's actually measured by your productivity as a researcher, like how much you're publishing and where you're publishing, that sort of thing. And so my big struggle for a while was writing, doing that part, getting the writing done. It's like I had no more creative juice in me. I would sit down to do my work that I had poured years of my life into. I'd sit down to the computer trying to write up my latest journal article, and nothing was working for me. I almost felt kind of like paralyzed. And I looked up a lot of writing productivity hacks, like how to be a better writer, how to be more productive writer, how to get over not so much writer's block, but like how to get over that hump of feeling like paralyzed in what I was writing. And I want to tell you this, almost pretty much all of those hacks that can be really helpful for a lot of people. For me, it was like I failed on all accounts because when it came down to it, I just didn't, I was so exhausted and overwhelmed and burnt out that I lacked the capacity to actually be able to do that high level problem solving, critical thinking kind of work. And I find that a lot of us might be in that situation. So I should have said this in the beginning. So I'm a holistic coach. I support high achieving women with burnout prevention and recovery. And a lot of the women that I've worked with and that I'm currently working with, they face this issue as well. Like, how do I get more done? I feel paralyzed at work. I'm not getting done the things I need to get done. And they might be thinking, I need to actually work more hours than I'm already working in order to, get stuff done. Oh, if I could work, 12 hours a day instead of 8 or 10 or whatever, then I would, be ahead. They always feel behind. Or maybe if you're like, maybe you're looking for all of the quote, productivity hacks out there. And let's be honest, there are a lot, the color coded calendars, the apps, the checklists, all this stuff. And what I found is that a lot of this, it just doesn't work for us when we're in a state or when we're already in a state of exhaustion and burnout. Basically, like we don't have the capacity to be able to take advantage of those tools, which can work when you do have that capacity. And the issue is that we're kind of solving for a surface level problem, not getting enough done, instead of looking at the deeper issue, which is, why am I so exhausted? How did I come to be so exhausted and overwhelmed? Why am I so burnt out? And how can I address that at its core? So, in this video and the rest of this video, I'm going to give you 3 strategies that you can start putting to work today. They're going to help put you on the road to boosting your productivity at work, to getting more done, but without having to hustle more and without having to add more to your plate or add more time to your workday. In fact, what I want to help you do is take hours out of your workday so you can work less. So let's go on to that first strategy. The first strategy is a mindset shift. You need to start thinking of rest as productive. So think about this. If you're in a state of burnout, you're super exhausted, you're stressed out, you're super overwhelmed, you're not getting stuff done, you are essentially, you're at capacity. And in fact, you might be trying to push yourself to operate above your actual capacity. So, on the one hand, we need to respect what your capacity actually is. And if we want to grow it, if we want to get to the point where where you're more efficient with the time that you have, then we need to grow your capacity, right? So, we need to do that by taking a step back, by not hustling so hard, because it really isn't getting you anywhere, and by resting more. Now, I want to give you another example of why rest can be productive. Rest basically, and rest can happen in a lot of different ways, right? Rest, if we kind of just take it at its face value, might just be I don't know if you think about this, but when I think of the word rest, sometimes what I think about is like lying on the couch doing nothing. Doubtful that you're going to want to do that, but that could be an example of rest, like physical rest, sleeping, right? We could also think about rest as kind of like taking or what's the word I'm thinking of, minimizing, sensory overload. So maybe like stopping, like shutting off our phones and taking a break from social media, doing something like sensory wise. We can also think about rest as just like kind of relaxing and doing something that puts us into a relaxed state. And the thing is that when we rest, we don't just increase our capacity. It's not just that we're refueling. I want to give you another perspective on this. When we are resting, we're actually getting our brain and our nervous system into what's called the parasympathetic state, or the rest and digest state. When we are doing that, we're actually putting it into the state that we need to be in if we want to be able to solve complex problems, if we want to be able to communicate well, if we want to be able to think creatively, solve problems at work, do creative work. So if your job, for instance, involves anything having to do with relating to people, being a leader, thinking outside the box, or requiring that you should be able to think outside the box, solving problems, being creative in some way, rest really is going to help you. Or when you're in a rested state, you're going to do all of those things better. You literally cannot be thinking creatively when you are in a state of stress. So let me give you an example. Have you ever discovered that when you're in the shower, you often come up with your best ideas? This has happened to me. So I remember one time when I was in graduate school, and I was always obsessing over, this is going to sound super nerdy, but obsessing over my dissertation's theoretical model. And I remember at least a couple times when I had like a brain like breakthrough while I was in the shower shampooing my hair. And it's just because basically you've given yourself a break. You're giving your brain a break from thinking all the time, and you're just doing something a lot more relaxing. I had naturally, because being with the warm water on my body and on my head, just concentrating on like how my head was feeling when I was massaging it, just doing something different, put my brain into a different state where it was able to solve a problem that I had been working on by not even thinking of it. It just kind of came to me. So this is what I mean when I say rest is productive. That if we want to be more productive and have those breakthroughs, we need to be rested. We need to get into a restful state. We need to refuel, and we need to do it as much as we can, right? So when it comes to rest, another type of rest that is really great is doing something fun. And that is strategy number 2 that I'm going to suggest to you. You need to add more fun and joy to your life. It makes it, when you're kind of, how do I put this? joy and fun are important because basically this is what life is all about. It's like enjoying ourselves, having fun, whatever that means to you. If you're not having fun, which many of us grown-ups we're not doing, you're going to get burned out. It's going to feel like, what is it all for? You're going to be asking yourselves these questions like, why am I unfulfilled? Well, it's like if you're working all the time and you're not having fun, it's like you're not even living your life. So we need to, for some people, this comes very naturally. They're always about having fun. But if you're watching this, my guess is that that might not be you. And by the way, you are not alone. I was like this for a long time. And, it gets to the point where you have to consciously, and almost kind of strategically think about, how do I bring more joy back into my life? How do I bring more fun into my life? So what can you do? You could pick up an old hobby that you used to have a long time ago you're more in a more carefree period of your life. Try it out again, a hobby or a sport. If you can't think of something that you used to do that you feel like would be fun now, then start brainstorming. Maybe brainstorm a list of everything, like every hobby or sport or whatever that you've ever wanted to try out, and pick one and start experimenting. Do a different thing every week. Just do something that is not work related and that you're actually, where if it's like on your calendar during the week, you're going to be looking forward to it and saying, oh, I can't wait to go do that on Thursday night or whatever. And that kind of brings me to the point of like, why is this so powerful? It's not just that it's a kind of rest, because that's important, but it refuels us in a different way. When we're living our lives, when we feel fulfilled in the non-work, life part of our life, work tends for most people to feel easier. It tends to feel less consequential. And it also, when you have something on your calendar, like I said, that you're going to be doing something fun, it gives you something to look forward to. It reminds you that your life is not ruled by what's going on at work. And when you're at work, if you have done something fun, at least this is how it is for me. Like for me, it's with surfing. If I've been surfing, I will be way more productive later that day or the day after. If I know I'm about to go surfing, I'm going to be way more productive in the morning before I've gone surfing, because I'm excited about what I get to do. And I'm like, I have to get everything done so I can go surf. You don't have to pick up surfing, but if you can find that thing where you really look forward to it, where it really refuels you, like on an emotional level, it's going to make you more productive at work. Given the time that you, like in whatever amount of time that you have to spend on work, you will be able to get more done and you'll probably do a better job at it. So there's that. So, quick sip of water. So one more thing, a third strategy that I want to share with you that's going to help you boost your productivity without requiring you to work more hours or hustle more is learning to regulate your nervous system. So we already decided that when we are in a state of rest, when you're in the shower, for instance, you're more creative, you're a better problem solver, you're a better critical thinker, you're, in a better mindset to be able to communicate with people, to relate to others. So how do we get into that, like mental and emotional state without having to be in the shower all the time or without having to be on our surfboards the whole time? It's through nervous system regulation. We need to teach our nervous system to get out of that state of fight or flight. So if you're in a state of burnout, If you're feeling overwhelmed a lot of the time, you feel like life is just happening to you, it feels like chaos, you're exhausted, these are some of the more common signs of burnout. And also, obviously, this topic that we're talking about right here, it's like your productivity or your effectiveness at work has taken a downturn. Then basically, burnout is at its core the result of chronic stress that you have been experiencing over a long period of time. Now, when we are stressed out, when we are in a state of stress, our nervous system is in the fight or flight state. I'm sure that you've heard about that before. Sometimes it's called fight, flight, freeze. Sometimes it's even called fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Either way, your nervous system is activated and it is dealing with a stressor. And essentially, if we're burned out, we've been in that state of, high alert, dealing with stress for too long, for too much of the time. And we need to learn how to get out of it, because we don't want to be stressed out all the time, especially when the things that we're facing in our daily life are really not threats to our existence. Our nervous system it's very intelligent, our bodies, and we are designed to be able to go into a state of fight or flight and protect ourselves and save our lives when we are being attacked, like literally by a lion or a bear or something, right? Or we're trying to, avoid a car accident or something like that, something serious. It's not really effective, though, if we are going into a state of fight or flight just when we check our email, or because we have to go into a meeting, or when we sit down to do a creative project and we can't think straight. We don't want to be in fight or flight in those times. We want to be in a more relaxed state. We need to teach our nervous system, our brain, to basically get out of constant fight or flight and to be able to respond to things that we're finding stressful or difficult from a place of calm. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you can start working on today. This is not like an overnight quick fix sort of thing. Learning to regulate your nervous system. It's something that I do with my clients inside Thrive. It's something that's taken me, for me personally, it's an ongoing process of learning about my body, of reconnecting with my body and my nervous system, and learning to manage stress. It's kind of a long-term commitment, but there are ways to get really big results pretty quickly. So one thing I'm going to tell you is, when you are, let's say, like during the workday, when you encounter a challenging, stressful situation, whatever that means for you, notice that you're going into fight or flight, and make a choice to pause and just breathe. And I'm going to give you a breathing exercise right now that you can use. It's called box breathing. You may have heard it before. I think it's highly underrated. It's extremely useful for immediately getting our nervous system out of fight or flight and putting it into a more relaxed state. So what you're going to do is just take a pause, sit down, inhale to a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Hold empty for a count of 4. And you're going to keep doing that. And I will tell you, even as I'm recording this video for you, even just doing that one time, immediately I feel more calm. It's weird. It's not just weird. It's amazing how it can work like that. So that is one thing that I would tell you to do that is super easy. Anybody can do it. You can, by the way, you can switch up the speed of, how fast you're counting to 4. You could do a quick count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could do it more slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. You find the pace that works for you. But your breath, it's an amazing tool to get you out of fight or flight and put you into, and basically send a signal to your nervous system that you are safe, because if you were not safe, you wouldn't be able to breathe so calmly. And it helps you calm down. So that's one thing. Two other things that I'm going to give you as suggestions that are not necessarily, or they're not really techniques, but they're two things that we can do to help give our nervous system that feeling of safety, and therefore help us feel more relaxed and less stressed and on edge. Now, one of those things is exercise. Just simply moving your body every day. It doesn't have to be crazy. I'm not talking about going to the gym and doing like a HIIT class. It could be as simple as just taking a walk. Taking a walk in the morning, for instance, before work. It could be taking a walk after work. If you have a favorite type of class that you like to do at the gym, go and do it. But just try to find one way each day that you can move your body, because when we move our body, it helps expend some of that energy and some of that stress that's building up inside. It helps us let it go. Another thing that we can do is really prioritize getting good sleep, getting a quality 7 to 9 hours of sleep. For some of you, this will not be a problem. For others of you, I'm just going to say, if you are, over the age of 35, we're not in the position to be doing all-nighters anymore. It doesn't make sense. I mean, now looking back, it doesn't make sense that I used to do this on a frequent basis in my 20s and early 30s. But you really, you will notice it the next day. All-nighters or just staying up really late, whether it's working or something else. You need to find a way. You need to do what you need to do, whatever it takes, essentially, to get those 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Because when we're not getting enough sleep, our body does not feel relaxed. We will be in a state of stress the next day. And everything that you already normally deal with in your work will feel like more difficult than normal. You will be more anxious than normal. You will not be productive. You'll be more likely to be on edge, not able to think straight, foggy, etc. So we really need to do whatever's required to get a good night's sleep. And I have a lot of ideas on that. Actually, I will, in the caption or the description of this video, I can put a link to a blog post that I wrote on that, giving you some really specific strategies that you can use to get better sleep. So that might be helpful. If it is, go check it out. Now, these three things that we've talked about, making or shifting our mindset around rest, understanding that it's productive, adding more joy and fun to your life, and working on regulating your nervous system. You might be saying at this point, I've been talking about the importance of rest. You might be saying, but I can't rest. I try to rest and my brain won't turn off. Or I can't find time in my day to rest. Here's what I would say to that. You need to rest even more. And what I would do is just double down on, number three, the number three suggestion that I gave you of regulating your nervous system. Sometimes we don't want to rest, or that feeling that we're having around rest, not even a feeling, but like resistance. It's coming from a place of worry about what's going to happen if I take time away. If I step aside from my work for even an hour, what's going to happen? If I don't do something productive for even an hour, what's going to happen? One thing that we can do is try to train or teach our body and our nervous system that it's okay if we're not being productive. And the way that we do that is through like the breathing exercise that I gave you, is that when that anxiety comes up, we go into our breathing exercise and we teach our body it's okay to rest. I am safe. This is good for me. Rest is productive. I'm going to be better at my job if I'm able to take a little time for myself to rest and refuel. Once we know the techniques to get our body out, our nervous system out of fight or flight, we can use those techniques strategically in order to fight those feelings or to kind of work through those feelings of guilt or anxiety that we might have about doing something that is not overtly productive, right? So that is what I have to share with you today. Those 3 ideas. This idea, you don't have to be continuing to hustle or hustling more and more in order to be more productive. In fact, it might be counterproductive for you. Instead, we need to focus on resting and refueling with joy and learning to regulate our nervous system. It's going to help us be better at our jobs, be more productive. It's going to help you feel better every single day. It's going to help get you out of burnout. And ultimately, in the end, it's going to help you grow your capacity to be able to handle more work and get more done in the amount of time that you have, or the amount of time that you honestly want to give to your work. I know that you don't want to work, 15 hours a day. I don't know anyone who actually wants to do that. But we want to get the amount of work done that we think we could get done in 15 hours, but we never do. So we need to grow our capacity, and we need to not keep pushing ourselves to go beyond our actual capacity. We need to respect our limitations while at the same time strengthening and refueling so that we can do more and so that we can be better. So if this sounds good to you, if you want to learn more about how I can help you, what it would be like to work with me in my private coaching program, Thrive. Again, I work with professional women leaders who want to prevent and heal from burnout. And these are some of the strategies that we use to help you to get more done in less time so that you can live your life and not be so overwhelmed and stressed out all the time. So if that interests you, there is a link in the video description where you can find out more information about working with me. There's also a link in the description to a really great resource that I created to help you see where you fall on the burnout scale and what should be, depending on where you're at in terms of burnout, what should be your next steps. So if this was useful, check that out and hit like and subscribe so more people can see these videos. And thanks for being here. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.